The first time Lin Xiaoyu met Shen Yichen, she thought he was nothing more than an indifferent, bookish seatmate. He was quiet, always focused on his notes, and never engaged in the usual gossip that swirled around their elite Beijing high school. Xiaoyu, on the other hand, was a lively, sharp-tongued girl from an ordinary background, attending the prestigious school on a scholarship. To her, Yichen was just another privileged rich kid who had never faced real hardships. But then, one afternoon, everything changed. It started with a simple accident. Xiaoyu had been in a rush to leave for her part-time job when she noticed Yishen's phone vibrating on his desk. She instinctively glanced at the caller ID, Shen Corporation board meeting. Her eyes widened. Shen Corporation? The multi-billion-dollar empire that controlled half the luxury brands in China? Surely this had to be a coincidence. Curiosity gnawed at her. The next day, she subtly observed Yishen. He never flaunted wealth like the other rich kids, never drove flashy cars or wore designer brands. If anything, he was too ordinary. That only made her more suspicious. One evening, when she was passing through the city's financial district on her way home, she caught sight of a sleek black car pulling up in front of the Shen Corporation's headquarters. And stepping out of it, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, was none other than her quiet seatmate, Shen Yichen. Her heart pounded. What was her seatmate doing at the biggest corporate building in Beijing? Xiaoyu confronted him the next day. "Shen Yishen, are you some kind of corporate spy?" she whispered, leaning over their shared desk. "Or maybe you're secretly a bodyguard." Yishen gave her a bemused look before sighing. "If I tell you, will you stop asking?" She nodded eagerly. "I'm the heir to Shen Corporation." Xiaoyu nearly fell out of her chair. Her seatmate was one of the richest heirs in China. Wait, you mean you're like the future CEO? She stammered. More or less. He turned his attention back to his notes, as if this revelation was no big deal. "But why are you in a regular school like this?" "Because I wanted to experience a normal life before I get shackled to endless board meetings," he said, his voice tinged with something close to regret. "I didn't want to be surrounded by fake friendships and expectations. Just a quiet, simple life." Xiaoyu could hardly process it. She had always assumed that money solved all problems, but seeing Yichen like this, she wondered, was his life really as perfect as it seemed? As weeks passed, Xiaoyu began seeing Yichen in a new light. He was disciplined, always managing his time efficiently, balancing studies and corporate matters effortlessly. He was thoughtful. Despite his reserved nature, he subtly helped her in class, leaving detailed notes when she struggled with complex subjects. And he was lonely, always surrounded by people yet never truly close to anyone. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Yichen invited Xiaoyu to a quiet rooftop on campus. The city skyline stretched before them, lights flickering like distant stars. "Do you ever wonder," he murmured, staring at the sky, "if you were born into the wrong life?" Xiaoyu turned to him. "All the time." He smiled, a rare, genuine one. "Then we're not so different." But their fragile friendship was soon put to the test. Rumors started spreading. A few students spotted Yishen stepping out of his luxury car. The whispers turned into full-blown gossip. Shen Yishen? The Shen Corporation heir? Why didn't he tell anyone? What's he hiding? I bet he thinks he's better than us. Xiaoyu watched as students who never cared about Yichen before suddenly wanted to befriend him. Worse, some began treating her differently too. "You're close to him, right? Can you introduce me?" "You must be dating him." The attention was overwhelming. Xiaoyu hated the way people's attitudes changed the moment they learned about Yichen's status. And when an article about Shen Corporation's mysterious heir attending local school leaked online, things spiraled out of control. That night, Xiaoyu found Yichen on the same rooftop, but this time he wasn't looking at the stars. He was gripping his phone, his knuckles white. "They won't leave me alone now," he said bitterly. "I wanted a normal life, and now it's ruined." Xiaoyu hesitated before reaching out, placing a hand over his. Hey, being normal is overrated anyway. He laughed softly, tension easing. Then what should I be? Yourself, she said simply. Not the heir. Not the perfect student. Just Yichen. For the first time, he looked at her like she truly understood him. But the real test came when Yichen's father, the CEO of Shen Corporation, arrived at the school. I heard you've been distracted, his father said, his voice cold. I allowed you this little experiment, but I see now that it was a mistake. Yichen clenched his fists. I'm still top of my class. What distraction? His father's gaze flickered to Xiaoyu, who stood frozen. She is. Xiaoyu's heart sank. She was a problem in their eyes. I will not allow you to waste time with unnecessary attachments, his father continued. You will be transferring to an international academy next week. No more delays. Yichen's jaw tightened. What if I refuse? His father chuckled, shaking his head. Then you'll lose everything. Silence stretched between them. Xiaoyu knew this wasn't just about school. It was about Yichen's freedom. And then, Yichen made his choice. The next morning, the entire school buzzed with breaking news. Shen Yichen had renounced his inheritance. Xiaoyu could barely believe it until she found him waiting for her at their desk, looking more alive than she had ever seen him. I chose myself, he said with a small smile. And you were right. Being normal is overrated. Xiaoyu stared at him, a slow smile spreading across her face. So, what now? Yichen leaned back in his chair, finally looking at peace. Now? Now, I finally get to decide my own future. And with that, their story truly began.